Imagine losing everything you've ever loved in the blink of an eye, your children, your wealth, your health, and being left alone to face unimaginable pain. This was the reality for Job, a man renowned for his righteousness, whose life was turned upside down by trials so severe that even the strongest among us would question God's plan. Yet, amidst ashes and sorrow, Job's faith did not break. Before we witness his trials, let's step back and see the life he once lived, a life of prosperity, devotion, and unwavering righteousness that made him known across the land of Uz. Job lived in the ancient land of Uz, a place where fertile valleys met rugged deserts and where life demanded both wisdom and resilience. He was a man of remarkable wealth, owning thousands of livestock, expansive fields, and a household filled with children and servants who respected him deeply. But what made Job truly extraordinary was not his possessions, it was his heart. Known throughout the region for his unwavering devotion to God, Job was a man who offered sacrifices daily, not out of obligation, but from genuine reverence and love. Job 1 verse 5. His faith shaped not only his life, but the lives of those around him, creating a household grounded in righteousness and compassion. People often say that prosperity can be a test of character, and Job exemplified integrity in both abundance and humility. He was generous, just, and deeply attentive to the needs of his community. His story reminds us that a life blessed by God is not measured solely by material wealth, but by a heart aligned with divine purpose. Yet, as we will soon see, even the most faithful can face storms that seem impossible to endure, and it is in these moments that true character is revealed. The story of Job takes a dramatic turn far beyond the deserts of Uz into the unseen realm of heaven itself. One day, God summoned his angels to the divine court, and even Satan appeared among them. Job 1 verse 6. God spoke of Job, praising him as a man of flawless integrity, one who feared the Lord and turned away from evil. But Satan, the accuser, challenged this reputation. Does Job fear God for nothing? He demanded. He argued that Job's devotion was only skin deep, fueled by comfort and security. Remove his blessings, Satan claimed, and Job's faith would crumble. God, sovereign and confident in Job's heart, allowed Satan to test him, but with one condition: Job's life must be preserved. And so, in the blink of an eye, Job's world began to fall apart. First came the messengers with tragic news. Raiders had stolen his oxen and donkeys. Fire had consumed his sheep. A violent wind struck the house where his children were feasting, collapsing it and claiming their lives. Job 1 verse 13 to 19. Imagine the sheer weight of grief crushing a man known for his composure and wisdom. Every joy, every accomplishment, every cherished bond, all vanished in an instant. Yet, in the midst of his devastation, Job's response was breathtaking. With grief etched into his soul, he fell to the ground and whispered words that would echo through the ages. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Job 1 verse 21. Even stripped of everything, Job's faith held firm. But the trials were only beginning. As Satan's challenge continued, Job would face even more intense suffering, his body, his health, and his spirit tested in ways that would make the strongest question their own endurance. Satan's test did not stop with loss alone. Soon, Job himself became the battlefield. Painful sores erupted across his body, from head to toe, turning his once pristine frame into a canvas of suffering. Job 2 verse 7. Imagine the agony, not only physical, but emotional and spiritual, sitting among ashes, scraping at his skin with broken pottery, a man brought low by the cruel hand of fate. His every breath seemed heavy with despair, yet the story of Job is not one of surrender, but of extraordinary resilience. Even in his misery, Job's inner strength became apparent. His wife, overwhelmed by grief and fear, urged him to curse God and end his life. "Do you still hold fast your integrity?" she asked bitterly, her words cutting through the silence like a knife. Job 2 verse 9. And yet, even here, Job's response was remarkable. He refused to let despair dictate his heart, answering her with quiet conviction. "Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity?" Job 2 verse 10. In this moment, Job becomes more than a man suffering. He becomes a mirror for all of humanity, showing us that even in the depths of pain, faith can endure. His life is a testament to the reality that grief, sorrow, and doubt are not sins, but natural companions on the journey of faith. As news of Job's suffering spread, 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, traveled from afar to console him. They arrived with concern, offering comfort that was meant to soothe. But soon, their words revealed a human tendency that still resonates today. The urge to explain another's suffering, often with misplaced certainty. They insisted that Job's calamity must be the result of hidden sin, claiming that only the guilty face such overwhelming trials. Job, however, did not accept their explanations. He spoke with honesty and raw emotion, challenging the simplistic answers of his friends. He lamented the day of his birth, wishing he had never been born to endure such suffering. Job 3 verse 1 to 10. He poured out his confusion, his frustration, and his pain, asking questions that resonate with every human who has faced inexplicable loss. Why is life given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? He cried. Job 3 verse 23. Days turn into weeks, and Job's grief deepens. His friends sit with him in silence at first, sharing in the shadow of his suffering, but soon their words take a sharper edge. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar begin to argue that Job's pain must have a cause, that he has sinned or strayed from God's favor. Job 4 verse 7 to 9, 8 verse 3 to 6, 11 verse 13 to 15. Their reasoning, though delivered with authority, only adds weight to Job's anguish. Job does not retreat into submission. Instead, he speaks with unflinching honesty, laying bare his heart to both his friends and God. He challenges the assumptions of justice and wrestles with divine purpose, refusing to mask his sorrow or pretend to understand everything. What emerges is a raw, relatable humanity, one that captures the tension between faith and suffering in ways that resonate through millennia. Then, in the most dramatic moment of the story, God speaks not in fury, nor in judgment, but through the awe-inspiring voice of the whirlwind. Job 38 verse 1 to 2. The heavens tremble, the earth listens, and Job is reminded of the vastness of creation, the infinite wisdom of God, and the intricate order of the universe. From the constellations in the night sky to the roaring seas, God's questions illuminate human limitation. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Job 38 verse 4. In this divine encounter, Job's perspective shifts. He sees the grandeur of God's wisdom and begins to understand that suffering is not always punishment, but often a part of a reality beyond human comprehension. Here, at the intersection of agony and revelation, Job's faith transforms from steadfast endurance to a deeper, humbling trust. Confronted with the majesty and wisdom of God, Job is humbled. He recognizes the limits of human understanding and the boundless nature of divine purpose. I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you, he declares. Job 42 verse 5. In this moment, Job's faith deepens, not because the suffering disappeared, but because he has encountered the God who holds all things. His honesty, perseverance, and devotion have brought him into a new, intimate understanding of the Creator. God restores Job, not merely to his former state, but with blessings that surpass anything he had known before. Job 42 verse 10 to 17. His flocks multiply, his wealth returns, and he is granted a new family, 7 sons and 3 daughters, bringing joy and life back to his household. Yet the true triumph lies not in material restoration, but in Job's unwavering faith and spiritual growth. He becomes a symbol of endurance, courage, and hope for all who face trials beyond their control. Job's story is timeless because it mirrors the struggles we all encounter. Life often delivers challenges that seem unfair, moments that shake our faith, and trials that test the limits of our endurance. Yet Job teaches us that it is possible to grieve, to question, and even to despair without losing faith in the goodness and sovereignty of God. His life encourages empathy, patience, and the courage to speak honestly to God, even when the answers remain hidden. In modern life, Job's journey reminds us that suffering is not always punishment, but a part of the human experience that can lead to growth, resilience, and deeper trust. His example challenges us to remain faithful even in the darkest seasons, to avoid judgment of others' trials, and to cling to hope, knowing that restoration and blessing may follow. As you reflect on Job's incredible story, ask yourself, how do I respond when life feels overwhelming? Do I find courage to face uncertainty with integrity, honesty, and faith? Job's life shows us that true strength is not the absence of suffering, but the endurance of it with trust in God's wisdom and love. Thank you for joining us in exploring the story of Job, a man whose faith stood unshaken amidst the storm. If this story inspired you, subscribe for more biblical narratives that illuminate life, hope, and courage. Share your thoughts in the comments. How has Job's story strengthened your faith in times of trial? Remember, even in your darkest moments, hope endures, faith sustains, and God's presence never leaves.